Okay, today we're going to import our first static object into Outerra. And I'm going to deviate from the typical textured box, and we're going to import a picnic table, which is basically a bunch of boxes stretched into boards. First of all, you'll notice that in the positioning, I've got it pretty much centered in X and Z. So it's going to be, wherever you click, it'll be there. If you have your object substantially off of origin X0, Z0, then whenever you click in your Altaira scene, it won't appear where you click. So that's when it comes to placing your objects precisely in a scene, that's something to take into consideration. You want to be able to have it appear right where you click. The second thing you notice is that it is triangulated, and it's already pre-sized, but if you want to have a good predictable way to size your objects, just create a standard block that, through trial and error, you've got the block the same size as the guy character in Altaira. And once you know how large a person is in that environment, then you can pretty predictably size accessories to the size of a person. Other thing to notice is that this has three materials in the picnic table. It's got a material for the basic wood, which also has for this I also have a normal and specular graphic to go with that. The bolts are just a color. There's no material for that at all except the color. And for the ends of the boards, it's just a graphic, but I don't have a normal map or anything for that. So we'll see how each of these three situations works. So with the model being made, and I'll leave it to you to create your models. We're not going to talk about that at all. But the model being made, highlight all of the objects and export. Since I've already got it saved once, I just pick the name that's already there. Okay, so that's all that we need for the modeling program. Now we're in GIMP. And in GIMP, we need to create DDS files for these textures. And so in the GIMP environment, I'm assuming that you've already downloaded and installed the DDS plugin. You'll need to create DDS versions of all of your textures. It's the only texture format that Altaira understands and accepts. But it has three flavors. This first is just going to be the diffuse. This is the board, and it's the diffuse texture. So go to File, Export As, and in this dialog, first of all, we're going to change the type to DDS. And then come up here to the file name and change that to DDS and hit enter. And this Save as DDS dialog box comes up. And here's where you pick from among the different types of DDS formats. The DXT1 is what you always want to make your basic color, your diffuse. So we'll select that. And then you also always want to click this Generate Bitmaps. Okay, so that one has been exported. Now, since I've already got these preloaded, I'm going to go to this one. And this is the normal map. Export as. And the same thing. Once you've done it once, the DDS selection will already be here. So you just have to make this DDS, hit enter. And in this case, for the normal map, we want it to be ATI2 type of DDS file. And again, we want to, once you've clicked it once, the Generate Bitmaps should remain checked, but it's a good idea to check. So we'll go ahead and save that. We'll get out of this. We'll come back to Windows and the specular. This will be the specular map. Open, export as DDS. And every other compression type besides the diffuse and the normal maps will be ATI1. Those are the three basic DDS formats that Altaira uses. And again, generate bitmaps. Okay. So now we'll come back for the final file, which is this one. Now you notice the this is the format. It's 1024 by 1024. As long as that's a power of 2, you should be good to go. I have had a couple of situations where I had a bunch of different downloaded textures, and I was just applying them as I would for MUVIZU, but they weren't coming into Outerra. The models would show up with no texture, and I found out that the pixel size was not a power of 2. So I just resized it to a power of 2, and then it worked. So that is something that probably most places create textures in powers of 2, but if you download textures from the internet, it is possible to get things that aren't powers of 2. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. So export as DDS, enter, and this needs to be DXT1 because it's going to be the diffuse color. We don't have any normal maps for this one. Again, generate bitmaps is already checked, so okay. So that's all we use GIMP for. We've created DDS files for all of the graphics in our model. So now quit. Okay, now we need to create an FBX from the object file that we created. So we'll go to Blender, and we'll import wavefront object file. Go to the picnic table folder, find our picnic table object, and import it. And without doing anything else, we can just turn right around and export it as FBX. Come back to the picnic table folder, picnic table FBX, export. And that's all we need Blender for in this case. Now we come to Altaira. And Control F7 to open the FBX importer. Control F7 is something, it's not in the sandbox menu, so you're just going to have to remember it. Open FBX, and there's the picnic table, FBX, so open. And as you see, there's only one object. There's no child objects in this case, it's just a static object. But we did import a lamp and a camera, which we need to tell Altaira don't bother to import that. So select it and come over here and click this box, do not import. Likewise, click the lamp, do not import. We click the top tier item and create package. And it says import complete, close, close, escape to bring up the sandbox menu, and quit. Okay, so now I navigate back to my my packages folder, find my folder, and find the picnic table folder. And this folder was created by Altaira when we actually imported the FBX. So when I saved the DDS files, I saved them back to my modeling directory. And at this time, I need to manually copy them into the packages folder. So I've got the modeling folder here. So I'm just going to click each one of these DDS files and Control C and click in here and Control V. Okay, so now I'm done with that. Also, before we go back to Outerra, I need to open the material file. So open with an editor that will format the text in that. And the wood, this tells me this is the wood plank ends. I don't have any extra normal files or anything for that, so this is the bolts, so that should be fine. This is the wood, and the wood needs to have the normal map added. So what I'm going to do here is just copy the file name for normal map, texture normal, Control V, .dds, and then I think that the specular map is the reflectance map. So Control C, come over here to reflectance, Control V, .dds. You can get rid of this now. File save. Get rid of this. Now we're ready to go back into Altaira. Okay, so we're back in Altaira, and it's time to place the picnic table into a scene. So F7 to call up the asset menu. Click Assets and scroll down to Picnic Table. Right there we have it. Drag it into the scene and click to place it. And there you have a nice little vacation cottage in the Alps with a cabin and picnic table. Now, one thing you'll notice is that some of these assets have a picture beside it, so you can identify what it is pretty quickly. The picnic table doesn't, and that's because I skipped a step of creating that. So let's go ahead and hit F7 to get out of that, and we'll escape and quit. And from the modeling program, we'll do a screen capture. Alt print screen. Get out of it. Then we're going to call up Paint. Then we're going to drag this out and Control V to put our screen capture in there. And then we're going to center our picture. Just basically drag a window around it and then click Crop. So we need to click Resize. And it needs to be in pixels. It needs to be in 64 pixels wide by 36. And if you weren't lucky and happened to crop it to an aspect ratio that came out to be 64 by 36, just click this not to maintain aspect ratio, and then you can change this number to whatever you need. But it just, as it turns out, we do need 64 by 36. So we'll click OK. Now we've got a thumbnail that size, and we're going to save as GIF, and we're going to put it in picnic table, and it needs to be named picnic table. No surprises there. Save. Okay. So now we'll come back to Outerra. And we'll call up the F7 menu, our asset, Scroll down to picnic table. And now you see we have a nice little thumbnail showing what this asset is supposed to look like. So there you have it. That's pretty much the whole procedure for creating a static object and bringing it into the Outerra environment. So on that note, we're going to end this video. Thanks for watching.